Today on This Week in iPad, we're celebrating episode number 25 with a huge epic giveaway. Gotta stay tuned to the end of the show to find out what it is. We're chatting with Cyril Moutran, the man behind the friendly Facebook browser, one of the top apps in the App Store this week. And to VLC or not to VLC, that is the question. It's all coming up right now on This Week in iPad. You're back. Welcome back to another exciting episode of This Week in iPad, episode number 25, Jacob Birch.
That's a quarter. It's exciting.
That's
older than me.
That's a real number. That's when you could start telling people like you're really on a show.
Yeah.
Like when it's the first 20 episodes, you can be like, well, I'm doing this thing. I don't know.
It might work out.
Right.
You know.
When you get to 25, that's like, okay, I'm planting my flag in this. Mother. We're going.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to use the word mother on the
Yeah.
show. I don't think I had yet.
You know, we have more shows than Freaks and Geeks.
A pie. There you go. Take that,
And
Sam Levine.
Firefly. Let's go.
Yeah, so anyway, thanks to everybody, especially thanks to our sponsors, thanks to our viewers, thanks to the technical crew here. It feels like a real achievement, I have to say, maybe because I rarely achieve great things in my life. So anyway, I wanted to say thanks to everybody. We are going to have, as I mentioned in the cold open, a really incredible giveaway. I think I can reveal it. I think I can say we're going to give away an iPad.
It's exciting.
It's This
and
Week in
thrilling.
iPad. We're giving a member, a viewer, a member of our audience an iPad. I will reveal what you have to do to win the iPad at the end of the show. So you'll have to stay tuned until the end.
Ha 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 ha.
We call it, yeah.
So, I mean, most
It's a hook. That's
most
what we
people
call
that
it in
are
the business.
watching the show probably have an iPad, so they're sort of rolling their eyes. Think of this. Chris, no. Well, there's like, okay, I'll
take
no.
the excitement out of my contest.
No. You have to let me finish. You're such an impatient man. Let me talk. Anyways, Christmas, Hanukkah, done, taken care of, easy. And not only that, someone you were maybe going to buy the Freaks and Geeks box set for, spending $50 or $60, you want to impress them, can't. $500 iPad or maybe.
If you're giving this away for Hanukkah, you wait till the 8th night. I want to
the night you make up a ninth night.
For all the Jews out there, please save your big gifts for the 8th night. You get your big gift on the 2nd night. It's an anticlimactic holiday.
And for the the Christmas celebrating folk out there, you pick a special lady. This is how you win them over, with an iPad.
This is the last gift. You give them like the 3 or 4 crummy gifts, and then at the last minute, like, oh, what's this? There you go. So anyway,
like that. That's
like this. I whip it out of my pants. So that's. Like the Steve Jobs one more thing, and one more thing, an iPad. Anyway, we're giving that away at the end of the show. We're very excited, as you can tell by our extended introduction. But anyway, before we get into all that, tons more stuff going on here. We've got the VLC player that just came out that hit the App Store. We talked about it a few weeks ago. It is available now. We'll be reviewing that. Plus, we're going to talk to Cyril Moutran. He created...
Very good.
He's the CEO of Oecoway. They made the friendly Facebook browser, which we showed off on the show a couple weeks ago. It's a really cool app, so we chatted with him. We pre-taped that, so we'll be showing that to you guys. Plus news, plus a lot more fun stuff. Planted the apps. We're doing, like, task management apps. Packed show. Great show. So before we get into all that, I do want to say a quick thanks and a hello to our good friends at Hover. Hover.com. You out there in viewerland should go to TWI.hover.com because you're going to get a good deal. You're going to get, I think, 10% off. And you're going to help out your good buddies here at This Week in iPad and let Hover know that, that we sent you. So twi.hover.com. Go check it out. I'm going to go there right now. So you can see what it looks like. They've got my beautiful face up there. And you can go... They do. They do. And you can go check out... you can buy any domain you want. You have a lot of options when you want to buy or transfer your domain. A lot of them, you may notice, they're a little bit convoluted. They're a little confusing. They put a lot of little check boxes and a lot of menus up there to try to get you to sign on, maybe buy more stuff than you maybe want. But Hover changes all that. It's simple. It's neat. It's clean. They're trying to make purchasing a domain easier and less challenging, not frustrating. They know it can be kind of a frustrating experience. Hover's going to save you a lot of time, a lot of aggravation. It makes everything easy. If you go to the front page of hover.com, you'll also see they've got all kinds of helpful videos that'll guide you through how to do it. The prices are clearly labeled. They don't change. And maybe the best part, it's brought to you by the great people at 2 Cows. They've been providing domain services and other internet services since the amazing year of 1994.
Earth was shaking that year.
1994. I mean, it's like Mad Men was set back then. It's that long ago.
You weren't in LA then, were you?
I was not. I was
here.
in Orange County. I was in Orange County.
You got a little bit of the Northridge. Just one thing.
I did get the Northridge.
About certain other registrars that I've had to deal with, and I've had to deal with quite a few, it's one or two experiences. Either you're trying to get one thing and you end up being duped and getting like 3 or 4 others. You're not getting that at Hover. The other thing is sometimes you sign up for something, I think private registration in particular, that you think you're giving these people your information. You have no idea that I'm a whois space jacobburch.com away from my address, my phone number, all of these things really, really easily. And that's not there. Like when you sign up, you get private registration for free. All of that, sort of thrown in. You get what you should be getting: advanced DNS control, the things that you would expect when you buy a domain.
Yeah, and only that. Only the stuff you want, and not all these other, like, this race car driver thinks you should get these 8 other features that nobody wants or needs, and they're going to charge you an extra $50 a year.
Panica Datrick. Or whoever.
Don't mention her name on this program. And anyway, the one other thing.
That name. It was a totally made up name.
The one other thing I do like to mention, they're so responsive. There's no hold system. You call them up. There's people there, friendly people on the phone waiting to hear from you. I actually had a question for them this week, and I just tested it out instead of going to my guy there, because we have a
You got a guy.
I got a guy.
You got a guy everywhere, though.
I got a guy at Hover. But instead of going to him and just tested out the system just to see, and you really do, you get an answer to your question in like 5 minutes. It's an amazing experience, especially on today's internet where everything is like jump through hoops and fill out 8 CAPTCHAs and send us an email and post a note and whatever. So anyway, I feel like we've gone on a little long, but we love the site, we love the company, we want to help them out. twi.hover.com, you can see it right here at the bottom of your screen. Go check it out, go get a domain, you need one. Hot Chicks with Kittens is taken because I have that one already, but go get another domain.
I bet I Love Lawn is available.
I Love Lawn, I think, is taken. I think
really?
somebody bought that already because we mentioned it.
.org? .co.uk?
.tv. So anyway, hover.com. Thank them. They're at Hover on Twitter, so go thank them. Great company, great service. Go check it out. All right, moving on. Let's talk VLC. We both tried out the new VLC
More like
player.
VLZ.
Wow. You're like
disease.
the Gene Shalit of iPad apps. It's like,
Sorry.
We'll be seeing you at the trash can when we throw out the VLC player.
Yeah.
It's got its pluses and minuses. I'll yield to you.
It's free, so
go ahead, give us your thoughts.
It's free. It worked on any video I tried, so it's I didn't mean to say you don't get it. It's a little buggy, but other than they'll probably fix that, I'm sure. VLC, the OS 10 app, has always been a little bit buggy for me. But if you need a quick way to get movies obtained totally legally that are in AVI format, it's a great way to do it. There's 2 main complaints. One, it's extremely bare bones, like really, really bare bones.
You can't really do anything in it, but
you pick a video and you view the video. So it would be nice to have something else. I don't know, just even more metadata, things like that. On top of that, and this isn't VLC's fault, this is Apple's craziness where adding files is that annoying click iPad, click tab, click add, go to file sharing, click, and they even explain when you don't have videos, they explain it for you, and it's just a little, not the most elegant thing in the world. You think you could just drag the movies and it would figure out where it needs to belong, and it's not like that. So other than that, it is what it says it will do. It will play lots of videos for you, kind of. Not much to say. It's kind of boring other than that. Yeah, there were a couple things about it that bugged me. I mean, obviously, it is buggy. We're seeing right now on my screen, this is Grindhouse, Planet Terror. I put this AVI file on here, and it actually works really nicely. You can see it's got sound. The picture quality is pretty good. One thing that bugs me, if you'll notice, here, I'll click off of this. If you raise or lower the volume, it's working. I'm raising the volume, but nothing comes up on screen, hides the volume control. Yeah. Which is really frustrating when you're actually trying to watch something. You want it to, you can't really tell. You have to hit it and bring this up in order to see that you're actually raising the volume. And it is super buggy. I put in, this movie actually works great. I put in the Goonies as well.
because I love that movie. And, you know, you can see it looks great, The Goonies, but there's actually no sound, even if I turn up the volume all the way here.
But Sean Astin always
There's
looks good.
soundtrack, but there's no dialogue. The dialogue didn't come through. If you open it on the desktop version of VLC, it works like a charm. First time, beautifully. So, you know, it's just, it's a little janky. I'm thinking they're probably going to fix most of these. Oh, look, the Truffle Shuffle. What do you know? I lined that up perfectly. There's also, you know, if you pause the movie and then you come back to it, there's blurriness, it freezes. Sometimes you get some distortion like you get with a broken AVI file, even if it's a perfectly working one. I have to say, I think right now the Cine X player is probably better. Yeah. It has some things I don't like you can hear it's got this like new age music when you load it up. Yeah. But having said that, you know, all the movies I loaded up in that one, they tend to work a little bit better. It's a little bit less buggy. And I agree. To put a movie on here, you basically have to go, you have to hook this up, you have to hook your iPad up to your iTunes. You have to go on iTunes, you hit apps in the menu, you go down and find the VLC player, and then you drag the files that you want to load in there. There's got to be an easier way. You can't even delete from the VLC player. You have to go back into your iTunes from your iPad. So I think they're going to make it a lot better, and it's free. So I feel like go ahead and get it, and they'll update it, and probably within a few months this is going to be a killer app. Right now, I'm sort of on the fence about it.
Agreed entirely.
All right, there you go.
Yeah, it's sort of, and it's a video player, so it doesn't need to be a little ugly. Like the way the videos are stacked on like
it is, and the actual traffic cone logo of VLC is so iconic. I expected that would be the icon, and as you can see here on my, it's like a super close-up of a traffic cone. It's right there. Like, why would they do that? That doesn't jump out at me and say VLC at all. Yeah. Just keep it the same as it is on my desktop. Why would you change that? Minor point, but still thought I would bring it up. Yeah. Because we got an hour to fill.
We agreed.
Okay, so let's move on. Before we jump in and do some news and show off our interview, I do want to talk real quick about another wonderful This Week in iPad
They've been
sponsor.
around for a long time. We should thank them for that.
Our longest running sponsor as of this point, I believe. I believe they've been dedicated to the show for the longest of anybody as of episode 25. What am I talking about? Of course, Gazelle.com. Let's look at my screen. Here we have Gazelle.com. You guys have heard me talk about this before. We love Gazelle here because it's a great service, and it's a service that, like, everybody I know who buys a lot of tech and buys a lot of gadgets needs. It's you go, you put in any kind of electronics, any kind of gadget, anything you've got around your house that you want to get rid of, that you don't need anymore. You're looking to upgrade your iPad, your iPhone, whatever other stuff you've got laying around, your MP3 player. You know, even your video game consoles. And you can come right here to Gazelle, you type in whatever it is that you've got that you're looking to unload. I'm going to put in an Xbox 360 here because I got one sitting around. There it is, Xbox 360 core system. That's what I've got. You search, you answer a couple quick questions, it powers on successfully, it's in perfect condition. I've got all of my Xbox 360 stuff. That looks exactly like the Xbox I have at home. I think I did good. So you enter all of that stuff in, and then you calculate, and you see exactly how much they're going to give you. $32. Ooh, it's a little low. Anyway.
And the graph is telling us that you waited too long.
You can see it took this huge dip. I guess the Slim came out, maybe, so that's why it took this huge dip, and now people want the updated version.
And I think you picked Core, so it has no hard drive. And
right,
but stuff like that.
Oh, there you go. And this one is also probably not ready for, what's that new Project Natal? What do they rename it?
Yeah,
Kinect.
Sure.
This is not Microsoft Kinect ready, so people probably want the one that has Kinect ready to go on it. Still, if you were looking to get rid of this one because you're going to upgrade, it's not like eBay. You could go on there and it's weeks until you figure out what it's actually worth, and you got to wonder what people are offering you. Here, it's all done for you. It's really easy. Shipping is free. They take care of it. They'll send you the box even. So it really, they just take all the pain out of it. They take all the guesswork out of it. And I know a bunch of you guys watching out there have tons and tons of old gadgets and electronics and gear just hanging out in your closet.
And $32 buys you a lot of tacos.
$32 will buy you a crap load of tacos, and you're not using it. It's sitting around. You're not using it anymore. You might as well get it to somebody else. Re-commerce that thing. Get it out of your house. Don't send it to some landfill because you'll end up just throwing it away. Instead, go to Gazelle.com, get a good deal on it, get it out of your way, and then use the money towards whatever the next purchase you want to make is. It makes total sense to me.
Absolutely.
So there you go. At Gazelle_com on Twitter. Go check them out. Great company. Nearly 100,000 people have used Gazelle to safely rid themselves of unwanted gadgets and earn some cash while doing it. And if you use the promo code TWI5, you get a 5% bonus. So you'll get above and beyond what they were even going to pay you added on if you use our promo code TWO5. Plus, it lets them know you heard about them here on This Week in iPad.
From your pals.
Your pals, Lon and Jacob, on This Week in iPad. TWI5 is the code. It works on everything but movies and games. Go check it out. So now we did an interview with Cyril Moutran. I'm going to keep saying it because I figured out how to say it. He's the president of Oecoway, and they make the friendly Facebook browser app that I've been playing around with for weeks that we showed off on the show. We pre-taped this interview before because he was in town, so it was here in the studio. So let's take a look at that right now. Hello, welcome. We're sitting here with Cyril Moutran. He's the head of Oecoway. They are the app company that makes the friendly Facebook app.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for joining us in studio. It's really cool. Jacob and I have both been playing around with the app. Really interesting, a lot of fun. So I figured, we'd reach out, we'd see about you coming in. My first question about Oecoway: is this the only company? Is this the only app you guys are working on right now? Like, how did this sort of project come together?
No, we have a few apps in the App Store. We've been working also in partnership with a couple other companies to build iPhone and iPad applications. So we have a couple games. But the company really came from more of a web background. We also running one of the biggest social search site called WhatsApp, and before that we actually had our own social network called Oecoway.
Oh, cool. So how did you guys get into making a Facebook app?
Well, by getting an iPad. That's the first step. Got the iPad while staying in line in San Francisco, probably for 2 hours, and also, my background is I came from France. So my family, my mom, my dad, my brother and sister, they're all in France. All of my friends are there. So I use Facebook a lot. And I tried pretty much everything else on Facebook. And we realized, well, it's kind of using the big scale-up version of Facebook iPhone app doesn't work that well. Going to the browser, the app works, but it's so little. These little links are designed for a mouse, not for fingers. And we thought, well, maybe we can build at least something that we can use. And we know that probably Facebook will end up coming up with an application for the iPad, but it may take some time. So we figured, let's put some resources and let's try to build this friendly app, making accessing Facebook much easier on the iPad for people.
What do you think? A lot of companies come to mind: Twitter, Yelp, Facebook, who were really, really early on. Well, maybe not Twitter; they had a lot of third-party stuff, but getting a presence on the iPhone really, really quick. And then the iPad comes out. Yelp still doesn't have a thing. Facebook still doesn't have a thing. Why do you think there's sort of the difference there?
I think for Facebook, from what I've heard, Facebook is the most used app on iPhone. And it raised the bar in some way for Facebook. There's a lot of expectation about what Facebook for iPad should be. And so it's probably why they've been kind of waiting to basically get an app out there. At the same time, there are also a lot of people, compared to, there's a lot of early adopters. I think it's about, by my estimate, between 5 and 6 million iPad users in the world right now. That's small compared to the 500 million users of Facebook, but that's still a lot of users that could use a good Facebook app.
Yeah. I think it's interesting that this app, it's less about adding a lot of features, and it's more about just making the features that are already there usable on an iPad. Was there any thought about, like, let's see if we could do other fancy stuff with Facebook and, like, add some bells and whistles, or was it always just, let's just make Facebook in a very usable, immediate way for the iPad?
Well, so for this project, what we figured is we want to very quickly go to market and basically get an application that people can use. So the first version was really focusing on consuming the feed, really kind of get the basic things that you want to do in your Facebook routine every morning. And then we got a lot of user feedback. So the second version that we did, the second update, added things that users told us they really needed. Like a lot of users were doing chat, and so we added chat. A lot of users wanted to use their Facebook applications more as a slideshow for showing pictures from their friends or for their own pictures. So we added that. And I think now we're getting to the point where we are going to release the third version in about a week and a half, 2 weeks, depending on how fast the Apple process is. And this one you'll see add a lot more of this bell and whistle, like getting to the more, kind of how do we push this thing so that we can make friendly even more iPad, what kind of things that you can't do on iPhone, you can't do on the web, that you could do on iPad.
Yeah. Any examples you can give us? Any sneak previews?
So I want to steal the thunder.
Okay,
There are some things that we've done around photos, because I think the screen of the iPad is so beautiful that you can really take advantage of the photos. We also kind of really trying to start thinking more about navigation in Facebook.
Sure.
Now, where traditional navigation tends to have kind of this long list of things that you can navigate to, but the iPad has, you have 2 hands, 2 fingers, so how can you make navigation a little bit more intuitive?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So are you, like, basically, you're a big company, you don't need to worry about it. If Facebook comes out with its own version, you'll just say, well, it was a good run and go back to the old projects, or do you have any sort of thoughts about ways you might stay competitive?
Yeah, so I think there are, even with Friendly, I think we are things that Facebook is going to come up with a really good app, I'm sure. But as you can see on iPhone, it's a good app, but it doesn't evolve that quickly. It basically gets some features, and then there's the 2 or 3 or 4 things that you are missing, from Facebook. And our goal is to start filling some of these gaps. So as Facebook come with maybe a more generic app, we want to update the app to be more specific. Maybe do photos much better. Maybe do photo editing maybe much better. Kind of go deeper into the features that are useful to a very large number of Facebook users, but will not be covered by Facebook.
Yeah. Sort of on that, what were your challenges working with the Facebook API?
That's interesting. I mean, the Facebook API is somewhat daunting. We had some experience before that on the web, from the web products that we've worked on. It's both like very, very rich, like there's different ways. You have the Graph API, you have all these different ways you can access the Facebook data. At the same time, a lot of these ways are changing fast. Like it'd be one day it's working, second day you have to do comments in a very different way. So it's been a bit challenging, and so we had to kind of find our ways around in terms of what technology to use to make the app reliable for people.
Sure. What are, I guess we talked about that. What are you looking for with newer iPads? Like, as the iPad keeps developing, like, what do you think is holding back, just more generally? Like, what should iPad 2 have that iPad 1 is lacking?
Multitasking, no, like, this is coming.
That's coming in November.
Yeah, I think for me, I think like a front camera would be really nice. Be able to do Skype and, kind of more like communication interactions. Overall, I think the iPad product is a 1.0 product, but it's a great product. I think it's what the iPad needs is more apps, and it's coming. You see apps that were basically apps that were more like desktop apps ported to the iPad or the iPhone, like the games, where you have the weird controls. But you're starting to see now developers taking advantage of the touch surface more and more. I think, as you see, I think a lot about drawing applications, for instance. And I'm a designer too, so I do coding, but I do a lot of design on Photoshop. Photoshop is a beast, trying to basically get into Photoshop with the layers, trying to understand that it's not something that most people can get to. But at the same time, when you think about some of the very simple applications like Color Splash, where you take your pictures, it turns it in black and white, and with your finger you reveal the colors, and you do like these beautiful creations. You can modify your pictures and it becomes beautiful in a few touch, and like a kid can do it.
Yeah.
I think that's that step that's going to take piece of the software industry like the image editing or photo editing into a very large market. Now you're talking about hundreds of millions of people who can actually access the software and do things.
Any other, you talked about apps are starting to come out that really get the touch interface and the bigger screen. Can you think of any other apps that you think are doing it really, really well?
Well, I think that the new Twitter app is actually really nice. I like Twitter, and I think they found like a way to really create a nice feel to it. I use a lot of the drawing apps myself, like for sketchbooking. I have a little pen I'm using. I'm not even sure what company it is, but that's kind of useful. Like a lot of time I draw always my fingers, but when I do drawing, having this, kind of stepping away from your hand, you can see better what you're drawing.
Yeah, that's a big problem when you're doing stuff with touchscreen, I think, all the time, is your hand is in the way. You're not actually seeing everything. Yeah. A lot of games, that's an issue I have, where I can't see my guy because I'm so busy moving my finger around. So you're a web guy as well, and we're talking about the Twitter app. Twitter's basically remade its website at this point to resemble the Twitter app almost, with the columns and the sidebar and everything. You think that's a trend that is here to stay? We're going to see more of that, of like basically people coming up with great innovations for the iPad and then it becoming more fluid, where these designs will make their way over to the actual web?
I think so. I think another one that comes to mind is OpenTable, which has been a service I've been using for like 4 or 5 years. I think companies like OpenTable have built like beautiful apps for the iPad. And the site, I think, with a website where they have so much traffic today, they can't take as much risk maybe, so they're a little bit slower to do evolution on the website. So they maybe test the market for new design ideas on the iPad, but then I'm sure some of these ideas are going to come back into the website. I think the other thing that I've seen is because the finger is so big compared to a pointer of the mouse, what happened when you design for touch is like a finger is about 44 pixels, and so it's a lot of pixels that it forces you to make things simple. It forces you to have big buttons, trying to think about what are the 2 or 3 call to actions I want on that page or that screen, and simplify the interface. I think that simplification is kind of similar to kind of the beginning of the web, where you had the hyperlinks. The hyperlinks made it very simple for people to interact with sites and applications because you just had one thing to learn, click on the link. And now it's like touch. It's like another step simpler.
Right. Yeah.
And so now you're getting your designer to think, okay, how can I design my service another step simpler? And all of these ideas are going to come back to the web somehow.
Totally. Yeah. Any plans for Android tablets? Are we going to see friendly for the Android Galaxy Tab anytime soon?
That's interesting. Possibly. We are a small company. Even though we have quite a few products, we've been trying to really focus in places where we can be a company, so that we can get a little bit of revenue coming in, so we can keep developing products.
Sure.
I think one of the challenges on Android is not so much the user base. I think they're starting to catch up in terms of users. The problem is more around the ability for us to sell an application at a very simple way. Like on Apple, it's very easy for people to go, and if they like the application, it's useful for them, they can spend $1 or $2. It's one click, and it's very simple and very fluid. I think Google and Android needs to get to that point when Google Checkout gets more fluid and it's easier for people, and it's also easier for small companies to put their product out there and not have to do so much to manage the income stream. It's going to be more attractive.
That's actually interesting, because we have a lot of app developers on here, and they always sort of talk about like, well, you do the iPad first, and then when you get around to it, you do the Android or the phone versus the Droid. I haven't really heard that as a big complaint yet, that it's big. Well, you can't reliably get paid as easily. That's interesting. Insight. So I guess my last question is: we're talking about Facebook. You're working with Facebook. Where do you come down on the privacy issues, all the sort of controversy surrounding Facebook? Are you just like you're a big fan and it doesn't bother you, or did you guys give that any thought? Especially because I know Places is closely integrated into the app here.
So I think I've been being in the social media space for a long time now, because we had the social network we were running, Oecoway, was started in 2006, late 2006.
Sure.
And I think my personal experience also has been, I'm seeing the value as sharing more in a more open way as definitely value. So I understand where Facebook is coming from and where Twitter is coming from. I think Facebook, my take is that, and they're doing that. They're being very, very clear with the users in terms of what is being shared is the key. And the second key is making sure you don't change the privacy policy on the users.
Right.
Like if something is private, it should not become public at any time. And that I think there's been some missteps in the way Facebook has handled privacy in the past, but I think they're very aware of it. They just have a very large user base, and they're trying. What I think is great about Facebook is they are changing the service. I remember Facebook 3 or 4 years ago, there was no likes, no comments. People in my network were not sharing a lot of data. Now I'm having like great comments, great content coming to me on Facebook. There's a lot of interaction between people. And that has come with the price of trying to push the envelope. And it's hard when you change things on users that like a service and use it 2 or 3 hours a day.
Any more questions?
Got all my questions.
We got to everything? Yeah. Cyril, thank you so much for being with us. It was really great to have you. Thanks a lot.
Nice.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. the man, the myth, the legend, Cyril Moutran. Thanks so much for joining us.
A wonderful interview.
That was a great interview, right? That was really good. I'm really proud of myself.
Informative, interesting.
And pre-taped, so we got to relax here in the studio.
Yeah.
Yeah, which was nice.
Yeah.
A nice break for you and me. So let's we'll get on with the show. I'm glad he could stop by, and that was really interesting. And of course, he was in LA for just a few days, so we sort of pre-recorded. So that's why we're dressed differently right now. But we wanted to be able to share that with you.
We could have said it was cinematic magic.
Cinemagic. Cinemagic. But it was the take the maker's mark off the table, Jacob. Please, it's supposed to be a whole bit. You blew it.
We never got a wide shot.
We never got an established shot. It's okay. But anyway, we're very glad he joined us. And I noticed that was actually at the top of the. It was actually at the top of the App Store this week. It was like the #1 free app.
They ran a special where it was 99 cents for back to school,
paid app,
and that helped.
Yes, that helped, I'm sure.
That's when I bought it.
Right. So.
Cheaply.
So enjoy an adult beverage. We're going to do a whole bit where we cut away and then we came back and we had this whiskey out.
And I had my eye on our monitor here. I'm like, go to the wide, go to the wide.
Oh well.
You know who would not be accepting of such shenanigans if he was trying to do a bit? Steve Jobs. All right, they made up for it. All right, good.
It was not anybody's fault. Okay, so before we go ahead, I do want to talk a little bit about our other sponsor, our third sponsor on this episode. A great app. We've talked about it before. Of course, I'm talking about Press Reader. Press Reader, this is one of those apps, I think people don't know that this is even available. There's all this talk about newspapers and magazines. We actually have a news story coming up about magazines on your iPad. And I think people still feel like, you have to get an app. You have to pay like $5-6 per app to get like Wired or to get New York Times or to get USA Today or to get any sort of publication on your iPad. And actually, there is this app. It is called Press Reader, and it's everything all in one. I mean, it's pretty much every newspaper or magazine you would want in one place. You can download the app for free. You pay $30 a month, and then you get everything you could possibly want to read. I mean, it's more than you could ever read on your iPad. You could never get through all this stuff. Every major newspaper from America, tons of newspapers from all over the world. You can see here the massive, massive list of countries that they've got newspapers for. Let me angle that a little bit better. So, I mean, 9 Malaysian newspapers. 9 Malaysian newspapers. Come on, people. So it's 1,600 newspapers and magazines from around the world, like 90 countries on here. And for only $30 a month, you can access all of them at any time. You can download them. They look great. They're easy on the eyes. They're easy to read. They really use the iPad's functionality well. Oh, I'm on obituaries. How grim. Let's take a look. Like, here's
Blankenship.
Oh,
crossover.
Blankenship.
A little crossover.
Love it. So here's like the crime page. I mean, you can see you got the ads.
Yes.
You've got the full newspaper. I did not bring this page up intentionally. I swear, folks.
Lying.
I swear. But you really get that full feeling of reading a newspaper. You get the captions, you get the photos, you get everything. It's not like some editor has gone through and picked out just the stuff they want you to see. You really get the full paper. You get the funny section, you get the calendar section, you get everything all at once. Where are the funnies right here? Does this paper not have funnies? Come on.
Boo.
Oh, I can't even believe it. Well, how disappointing. I'm sure, so boo to you, Baltimore Sun. I can't find your funny section.
I need Dilbert.
But yeah, I mean, you get your sports, you get your classifieds. I mean, everything you could really want, and it's all easy. It's easy to browse. Here are the funnies. Look at that. Garfield and Pearls Before Swine, my favorite comics, Kathy. All right here. It's easy to browse around. You get the zoom functionality just like you would on any other
Family
iPad.
Circus is mine.
Love Family Circus. At Press Display on Twitter, you can find these guys and give them a thanks. Check it out. You can download it, and your first 7 downloads are free. You can subscribe to any papers you want, so you can get the LA Times or another paper every day if you want it. Just open the app, and it downloads automatically. Can't say enough great things about Press Reader. It really has changed the way I read the news on the iPad. All these other apps with these little sort of piecemeal, you get a little bit of the news. This really brings the experience of sitting and reading the paper every day right to your iPad. Couldn't be easier. Don't have to carry around a paper, get newsprint all over your hands. The future is now, people. Press Reader, check it out. Thanks to them for sponsoring the show. Been a long-time sponsor, and we really do appreciate it.
Yeah.
So let's do some news. Let's talk about some news.
Until I get my Danish. Sorry, go ahead. I promise I'd make that joke.
Let's proceed.
Okay.
So, according to a Wall Street Journal article, Research in Motion, or RIM, as you like to call it.
Are they going to come out with a new tablet?
They're coming out with a new BlackBerry tablet. They may be unveiling it as early as next week at a San Francisco Developers Conference. It's tentatively titled the BlackPad. That's sort of what they're calling it for now. We're not sure if the BlackPad is actually the final name, although it's kind of a cool name. You don't like the name of the BlackPad?
Just so sick of these stories.
It's scheduled for release in the fourth quarter of 2010. Rumored specs: 7-inch touchscreen, Bluetooth, broadband connections, power through any BlackBerry device, and 1 or 2 built-in cameras. We're not sure which. Interesting little side note here. This is the first time I've heard about this. It's going to eschew the BlackBerry 6 operating system. They've got a brand new platform built by QNX Software Systems, and it's theorized that this new OS that they're building for the BlackPad may become the standard. It may be on all BlackBerry devices moving forward. So, you know, that's kind of news, and it comes as, of course, RAM is fighting against the perception that iPhone and Android devices are dominating the smartphone market. So, I mean, what do you think? I know you're kind of sick generally of these stories, but you think starting from scratch with a brand new platform is the answer?
Yes, I think it's been a mistake. The HP tablet had footage got leaked on Engadget, and it looks like they're butchering it. I mean, it might be fake, so I don't want to comment too much on it, but it looks like it's too much of a, you know, trying to forge this old computer metric into a tablet, and it's just not going to work. Just to make it clear, I don't like these stories because they're always rumored to appear as this thing that might have these specs, and that's all we get, and it's not a lot to talk about. I'm really excited to try a Galaxy. And more footage is coming out. It looks really interesting. That one has me more excited because I will get to use it soon.
We'll definitely get one for the show. I'm looking like the first week. I think maybe we'll do like dueling tablets.
Yeah.
Like I'll do an iPad show and you'll do a Galaxy show. And
that's probably the Android people would probably not be happy me doing an Android show because I am an unabashed Apple fanboy. Nuna Maya was making fun of me.
We'll swap. I'll do the Galaxy part.
Point being, what I'm trying to say is it's not just because it's not Apple. It's because it's these. I meet stories about the new iPad 2 with equal disdain. I do not like here's some specs, might happen. Yeah. When I get one in my hands, moreover, when I see actual footage, actual information about it, I am more piqued. So, yeah, that's the way to go. But again, I would like to have actual details and not just rumored by some anonymous source first. So that's my rant.
Fair enough. I'm the anonymous source, I admit.
Yes, okay.
No, I'm not. Oh, okay, so let's move on. I mean, obviously, we'll get a look at the BlackPad pretty soon. It seems like we're all pretty curious. How much is it going to be like a BlackBerry, I think is the question.
Yeah, I mean, they blew the storm, so let's see how they take this away.
All right, so let's move on. I want to talk a little bit about this new word processing app from Information Architects. It's called IA Writer, Information Architects Writer. If you pull up my screen, you could see it. I really kind of dug this. It's got a lot of hype. Gizmodo wrote about it. A lot of other blogs were talking about it. It really does seem like the first word processor that's designed really specifically with the iPad in mind. You can see this row right up here. You know, so if I type like, hello, I am typing on an iPad, you can see that, you can see that you know, it kind of formats a lot of the words with me. The real idea here is that it's designed for writing quickly, so you don't have to think a lot about what you're writing. You don't have to do the usual word processing because they're assuming that you're on your iPad. You really just need to focus. You need to just get the words out themselves quickly. So there's a couple little fun bells and whistles on here I could show you. I like this, like jump to the beginning and the end of the word with one button. It really kind of makes it quicker to jump around quickly. You've got a lot of the keys that you're going to use all the time, your dashes, your colons, and your semicolons, ellipses, and parentheses right here at the top. And then this, of course, is sort of move your cursor around. So it really is kind of built natively just to get everything done. They've also got focus mode on here. It gets rid of everything like spell check and cut and paste, which it's sort of assuming that you can take care of later. One other really fun thing is you'll notice this little number here. That's actually how long they're estimating it would take somebody to read what you've just written. I don't think I've ever seen that in a word processor before. They're actually estimating read time as you write. So if you need to get through something in like 3 minutes, you'll know, okay, I've exceeded what somebody could really read in 3 minutes. You know, so it's kind of cool. It also has a Dropbox integration. I know you're a fan, so you could, whatever you're writing, you can immediately Dropbox it, and it shows up on your desktop or anywhere else that you have Dropbox. And there, it's only $5. So if you're looking for a new word processor and you want to just have, you know, it's basically for word dumps. It's not for like making elegant documents or printing things out. It's really just, I've got to like write a paragraph and I know exactly what I want to say. I just need to like get it out quickly. This seems like it might be kind of the perfect thing for that.
I have not gotten to use it. I am excited to try because I've been hammering. We were arguing before the show about Evernote, which I'm just not into. And I use Dropbox for all that. I just have a bunch of text files in my Dropbox because it searches really well through Spotlight on all my computers. And if I could have an editor on my iPhone and on my iPad, that would allow me to edit things that are all those text files, which sounds like this might be able to do. So I will be trying out, and I'll let people know next week.
Yeah, and you know, they said they're also going to work on a desktop application that's the same way, but they said they focused on the iPad first because of its unique ability to, quote, drag you in and make you forget the world around you. And like, honestly, I mean, I think there is some truth to that. That you know, I can get very sucked into my iPad, and then I'll look up and it's been a half hour, and I've been just playing a game or typing something out or looking at a web page, and I didn't realize how long it's been. So I do think that there is something to this idea that the iPad is uniquely, maybe it's even the lack of multitasking, but it's uniquely able to allow you to like just zero in on what you're working on and really focus. So anyway, an interesting app, a lot of hype this week. I thought I would bring it up. Next big story is about Sports Illustrated, the magazine, which I'm not a huge fan. I haven't read it on my iPad, but the latest edition of Sports Illustrated for the iPad doesn't work in portrait mode. If you hold your iPad like this, it works fine. If you move it vertically, the application actually tells you, please change around your iPad to landscape mode for optimal viewing experience.
I had heard about, and I'll let you finish, but I had heard about that it only works in landscape mode, which I had my own opinion of. That seems wrong because if the iPad thinks I'm in landscape, but I'm like trying to do this, knowing that it's not going to do this, don't give me a warning message. Just let me do my thing.
Right. No, that they're specifically not
like
letting
if I'm
you do
doing this, right? Like. Yes, I can do the lock and
you could lock it in, but
down, join some Maker's Mark.
Guest editor Joshua Quittner explained the reasoning behind the decision. He says landscape mode is best for reading a magazine anyway. Now, because they focused on just landscape mode, they can offer real neat new features, like they've got this long view zoom for like a centerfold or large photographs. The file is smaller because it doesn't have 2 modes, so you can download it faster. And the big one, of course, it's cheaper because they don't have to have as many developers, because they don't have to design it for both views. He hits this last point in particular and basically blames Apple. He said if the iPad allowed Sports Illustrated to sell real subscriptions like they want to, they could pay more designers and they could offer you both views, but now they can't because Steve Jobs is being kind of a hard ass, for lack of a better term, and not letting them offer their scheme for subscriptions and wants to take his, there he is, and wants to take his piece off the top. So, obviously, I think this is not an optimal decision in keeping their customers and readers' best interest in mind. Is this Apple's fault, or is this Sports Illustrated being whiny and doing things inefficiently?
Both. I mean, Apple needs a better subscription model for magazines. We had that news story a week or two ago about they're probably going to address it. It makes too much sense. Again, it sort of reminds me of how they took the iTunes store and they got some people on, and then eventually they just sort of went for the juggernaut. Once people were so used to how swell the iPod was and all that, people eventually caved, and Jobs has just been waiting for the iBook store to not suck. That's a big thing. Magazine publishers and textbook people are thinking the big people were all sort of waiting to get into it, and he's just letting more and more people fall in love with it, and then going to try and take more off the top. That said, it is, I guess, a silly idea, but I mean, there are other apps that don't work in, that said, when reading informations and, it's sports, but it's still, articles and stuff, I tend to like portrait mode. I don't it just doesn't make sense for me. I sort of like having the long tail view.
I get that. I mean, there are games that only work in landscape, which I get just because of the nature of a game. Yeah. I mean, it's cool when games work in both. Like Osmos, I really like how it works, however you hold it. But, I get it for a game, because a game is going to be specific and it's going to have a sort of a game field, and it doesn't necessarily make sense to change the physics of it. But reading, it just seems like text.
Reading, this isn't changing for you. You know what I mean?
Well,
like
but that's not a $500 gadget. It's a piece of paper.
True, but you're also reading a 250-year-old model, a magazine on it. So
that's true. I don't know.
I think it is a mistake. I think they were wrong to do it. I think there has to be a way they could programmatically figure out a way to make it work in both and not have to design two different things. That seems weird to me, like they're just not getting it. That said, I'm not as shocked or as appalled as some people.
Or there is the possibility, if one is being conspiratorial, that this is their way of making a big point about how mean Apple is to them and how they should be allowed to charge what they want for their subscriptions.
Yeah, I would hope not, because don't bite the hand that feeds.
Right.
And Jobs will be the hand that feeds, at least for next few years. Yeah, can we do an episode where we have like you and I get a bet going on how many we can get?
Jobs we can trigger.
Yeah.
So one more thing I wanted to we're already running short on time, which happens to us every week. I did want to show this. I'm going to start doing a thing I think where I pick out a cool video each week of somebody using an iPad to do something interesting or fun. Just because I like video, I like mixing it up a little. It's enough of us in front of a black backdrop, flapping our gums about the iPad.
Which is what the people want.
It is. So this week, it's a particularly impressive bit of portraiture done using the Brushes app that was posted to YouTube. Let's take a look.
I can do that.
You could come up with a portrait. So okay, for next week, do one of me. I'll get you a lovely
stick figure with nice curly hair.
I'll get you a glossy headshot. Lord knows I have enough sitting around, and you'll do that'd be a good challenge.
Yeah.
Let's see what you can come up with.
No. Real quick, I want to make note. Shook, and I can't say the rest of your last name.
Shook's Run Flick. Shook's Run LLC maybe?
Makes an excellent point. It works on the website. You silly people, make it work for. I mean, I
Talk
guess
about the SI.
They're trying to make it. I'm sure they're trying to make a much more direct conversion of it. But there is a way. I swear. Think harder. Or wait until Apple comes up with a subscription model.
As Nike, their primary sponsor, would say, just do it. Okay, so I also wanted to show, as long as we're doing the news, what the heck, bringing it up on my laptop right now. There was this really awesome case this week that everybody was talking about. It makes your iPad into an Etch-a-Sketch. No word yet on if you can actually use it to draw stairs or a misshapen circle, as I usually would if I, on my Etch-a-Sketch, wanted to show that off. You can go check it out. It's at getaheadcase.com. Headcase is the manufacturer. Kind of a cool thing. I'm just saying my birthday's coming up in November.
Yeah.
Jake Birch,
Noted.
now you know.
Noted. Someone asked in the chat, and you've brought it up before in episodes, but Zon is using the Zoogu case. The Zoogu,
Z-O-O-G-U-E case. Tim Angel is the designer. He and Derek Wall, friends of the show, sent these along. I know you've switched back to your regular Apple case.
Yes.
I love the Zoogu. I get comments about it all the time. When I take it out and I lay it down and people see the Velcro, they always ask me, like, what is that case? And that it really does make a huge difference. The ability to lean it at any angle you want.
Nails on a chalkboard, removing styrofoam from boxes, Velcro. I just always had just an ickiness.
So it's just a personal
It's it is a
Velcro.
wonderful case. I switched back just because of my distaste for
It's
Velcro.
a really great case, and actually, it really slays the Amazon Kindle, you can't use your iPad in sunlight argument. I was actually today waiting in my car for a few minutes before I went in to a hotel in West Hollywood. I'm not going to detail. And there was a lot of sun. I was interviewed for a documentary today, and there was a lot of sun coming into the car, and I was actually able to lean it on the dashboard and get it at an angle where I could play my medieval HD game, which I'm a big fan of. And no direct sunlight bothered me, and it was a hot, bright, sunny day in LA today. So it works. It works great. It's the Zoogu case at ZOOGUE. If you want to thank them on Twitter or say what's up to them, and go check out the cases. I love the the case. It's not a paid sponsor of the show. I have received no money from Zugu. I'm just a fan, so I'm just letting you know my take. Okay, so all of that said, we've got like 10 minutes left, and we have to get into the iPad giveaway information. So let's really quickly go do some Planet of the Apps.
You maniacs! Damn you! God damn you all to hell!
Don't download it, Lon. You might not like how it runs.
I think Martin giggles every time he sees that.
I know he does because he and I share an office. So I only did one. We're doing productivity and task management apps this week.
I have 20 seconds preamble. We each only did one, and I think that's probably, at least on mine, I know my productivity app. It's been mine, and actually not on the iPad. I just got this on the iPad, but on my iPhone, it's Things. Oh, a little spoiler.
Things for iPad.
And I'm not going back. It works for me. It works for my mind. So I just didn't have the ability to find any others. We like to review an app. We did VLC. If anyone feels injustice that we did not cover your productivity app, let me know at Jacob Birch.
Please.
JACOB BURCH, and I will continue to review these. I know mine.
Revisit on a few. I feel like we're running out of main categories for Planet of the Apps a little bit.
So we're only each doing one, but please do send on if you want to know our take on more.
Please, we'll revisit this topic, and also if you ever can think of any other Planet of the Apps categories we either haven't covered or you'd like us to revisit with some new apps, definitely please do let us know, because I feel like we've hit most of the main categories.
Can we do word games next week?
Word games.
Word games.
Word games.
Word games.
Word games. I'm going to keep saying word games. Yeah. So
Sweet.
at Lons, at Jacob Birch, let us know. We love feedback, or let us know here in the chat room.
Yeah,
Up
right
to
now.
you. So go ahead, kick us off.
I will start. Things, for those who are aware of the book, I've never read it, or the philosophy, I don't know much about it. Getting Things Done, it is based on that, GTD. That's where the Things comes from. But to me, it is just the way my mind works. It's a bunch of things I need to do. What do I need to do today? I have buy spinach and buy a filing cabinet. I need to grow a beard. That is an awful example, but I'm staring Lon in the face, and I needed to come up with something.
Grow a beard. That's a good goal.
I say
for
this
you.
is priority. So there's tags. I want the due date. I need to do this by September 30th. Save, and it's there. It appears on my today list because this is something I say I need to get. I really need to try and get done today, but absolutely it's due on the 30th. Things that are less of a priority, but you don't need to get done, but you want to make sure you get done. I need to clean my desk and buy an accessory wardrobe for all my ties and cufflinks and such, and hang some pretty pictures. And it's just a very simple. Basically, anytime I ever, and this is how GTD kind of works, anytime I ever remember I need to do anything, I just write it down. And it just goes in there. It goes in either in the inbox or next. And then when I'm home, I'll organize, okay, this is something I need to get done relatively soon, someday eventually, or no, if I'm not allowed to go to bed unless this gets done. And it's helped me so much, because during my time at UCLA, I was, showing up to class and, you prepare that study guide, and shoot, and going to scramble off.
Yeah.
And it's helped tremendously. It's wonderfully elegant. It's available on iPhone, iPad, and OS X. Beautifully designed. They nail the design interface of each of those devices really well. There's syncing between the two. You can use Dropbox to sync between all your computers. Works tremendously well. Highly recommended.
Cool. So I took a look. This was actually a viewer request. A viewer hit me up on Twitter and asked. I'm going to try to find their name, and asked if this is one that we could cover on the show. It is called iThoughts HD. It's mind mapping, which I'm not a big mind mapper up until now, but that's what this app does, and it actually is pretty interesting. So I'll take a look at it right now. And this is a mind map I made. This is basically this episode of This Week in iPad mind map. I'm going to get rid of that one because that doesn't belong. So you can see it basically just lets you lay out the show, organize things, can make connections. It really easily opens or closes things so you can keep it organized. If you just hold your thumb down on something, you can drag it around and move it to wherever you want to go. And it's really easy to use. I mean, the interface is pretty intuitive. So if I could say, our VLC review, Jacob remarks, if I wanted to note, you had another little segment branching off of there, branching before there, I could say, intro, Jacob and then put that there, and then click off, and now it's created a little other connection there. Yeah, I can say, like, you know, the black pad section, I want to connect to the iThoughts review, and now they're connected, and I can even, like, hold my finger there and then drag this around however I want it to appear. So it's pretty nimble. You know what I think this would be really good for is like a story or an article if you were doing journalism or research, like a research paper, any kind of long writing assignment, this would be really useful. Kurt Vonnegut once said that in a preface to one of his books that he lays out all of his stories on a long thing of toilet paper before he writes them, like he would write all the connections. This is sort of the updated digital iPad version of that. That you could just make these like branching flowchart kind of trees, and it helps you keep everything together. And pretty much any way you'd want to like customize this. I mean, you could change the colors, you could change how the boxes look and the size of everything. It's really easy to use. You can obviously use pinch controls. It's got a great sort of undo feature. You can even mess around with like the background that it's on top of. They've got a bunch of different options. So if you'd rather it be in front of gray or other, you know, you can mess around with all these colors. So it's pretty nimble. I can see how this would be useful for laying out anything that's not too terribly complex. Once you got a certain level of complexity, I think this would stop being that useful, and you'd want something that was a little more organized. My one holdback is that it's $10, and if you're not sort of into mind mapping anyway, if it's not already something that would occur to you to do, I don't know if it's worth that, and it's kind of limited. I feel like it's the sort of thing you could do with a pen and a whiteboard, and it would be 90% as effective as it is on here. Yeah. So I'm a little hesitant to recommend it for everybody. However, if this is already the way you work.
Yeah, I should explain things I have one complaint. It's horrifically expensive, and that goes for the entire suite. I think the iPhone app is something like $10. The iPad app is $20. I think the Mac app is $50, which is really ridiculous. I downloaded it, and I'm very glad I did it because it really, the GTA thing gets how my mind works. That said, I downloaded it, used it for 30 days, thinking it's $50, I'll never buy it, and I got hooked. I basically needed it. When trial ran out, I just caved right away, and I'm addicted. Beautiful, beautiful software. That said, if you don't know if your mind maps to this sort of philosophy, either download the trial of the Mac version, or you read the Getting Things Done book, or any article on the web can explain it to you probably in a couple of pages, and see if that sounds something appealing to you. Then give it a shot. Otherwise, there are other apps out there that might fit you more. Yeah.
They're taking me to task in the chat room, as they always do, for saying $10 is too expensive. But I think we always
relative terms, right?
Right. We always get into this conversation. I mean, I in my head, I'm pricing iPad apps. It's relative. It's based on the price of other apps. It's not based on real-world value of this product or what somebody's labor or effort is worth. So when I say, it's not worth $10, that's not to denigrate. It's actually really well designed and put together, and I like it. And obviously, a lot of people work very hard on it. I don't mean to denigrate it in that way. I'm just saying, for me, $10, I should be using this a lot, because there are apps that I've paid $2 for that I use every day, or even apps that are free that I use all the time. So on that scale, you sort of have to take that into account.
Similarly, I bought StarCraft for $60, and it's this incredibly complex. There's just tons of things. Awesome app. Clearly, a lot of thought goes into the very minor things you do.
Sure.
But it's a very simple app. Not saying that I could have done it, not saying, I'm not trying to make that argument. I'm a software developer myself. I know that's a dumb argument.
Yeah.
But that said, to some people that might be a little bit of sticker shock, and we are not good reviewers if we don't know it. Note it. Note it.
I agree. Okay, and it was at UK Slumdog on Twitter who asked me to take a look at iThoughts HD. And there you go.
Yeah.
I'm glad I did. It's an interesting app.
Now, are hosts eligible to win this iPad?
No, you have an iPad, and of course not.
I thought I'd ask.
That's ridiculous.
If they were, how would I go about getting it?
Okay, so
if I wore a mustache, could I get it?
If you were evil,
if I grow that beard,
evil heavyset Jacob, whose photo I showed during the interview segment, he could win, but you can't win.
I have to go eat lots of cake.
But members of the public, how can you win an iPad? That's what we're going to get into now. Basically, it's very, very simple. No real major hoop jumping required. All we want you to do is tweet out a thank you to one of our sponsors. You can pick at Gazelle_com, at Press Display, or at Hover. Say thanks to them for bringing you This Week in iPad. Be sure to include hashtag TWIIP. Be sure to include that at the end because that's how we're going to find your tweets. That's how I'll be looking them up. Go on Twitter anytime after the conclusion of this show, anytime for the next week. We will announce the winner next week on the show. One person who tweets out a thank you to one of those 3 sponsors and includes hashtag TWIIP will win an iPad.
That's
Incredible.
exciting. And,
Amazing.
And all 3, it's not like they have to force think.
You have 3. You have 3 options.
3, and you almost certainly everyone either has been thinking about buying a domain, has been reading the newspaper and trying to find the best way to do it on the iPad, or is looking to sell something of value and get some cash for it. Either you've done it before, or it's a good time to do it now because
we've got your bases covered. So go check out these 3 sites. Again, it's Hover. You can go to twi.hover.com, at Hover on Twitter. Gazelle, go to gazelle.com, at gazelle_com. Press Reader, it's at Press Display on Twitter. You can download the Press Reader app. Check out the sponsors. Thank one of the 3 of them, or all of them, but pick. All you have to do is pick one. Send a thank you for bringing you This Week in iPad. Hashtag TWIIP. The winner next week will get their very own free iPad anywhere in the world. I don't care. People always win, and then they write me and they're like, I'm in the UK. Can I still win? Of course you can. We love you, person in the UK who I just made up. You're great. Of course we want you to win.
His name is Sam.
His name is Sam.
Thank you, Sam.
Before we close it out, I also want to thank everyone who submitted blog posts. We did a call for bloggers. I got a massive, overwhelming response. Over 10 people wrote me and said they wanted to be the iPad blogger. I had them all do a sample blog post. I'm still going through them. I apologize, everybody, if I haven't got back to you yet. Next week on the show, we will also announce our very new This Week in iPad blogger. So far, all the entries have been fantastic. That's why it's taking me a really long time to pick, because I want to keep going through them because everybody worked so hard. So be sure to go tweet and thank one of the sponsors, hashtag TWIIP. Thanks to everyone for the blog post. Be sure to tune in next Thursday and every Thursday at 5 p.m. We'll be here live. That's it for this week. We'll see you next time on This Week in iPad.